Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In this video, I'm going to talk about integrals of tan. How to find the integrals of tan. First, integral of tan𝑥 dx is equal to, tan is sine over cosine. The derivative of cosine, if u is equal cosine, so the derivative of cosine is minus sine. So we have sine, that's what we mean, negative. So then equal to what? Minus cosine, if raised up, will be power with the power -1. So it will be power -1. The derivative minus sine. That is mean the integral of 1 over u du is ln. Ln what? Absolute value of what? Of cosine. Of cosine plus c. And this negative comes here as a power, cosine power -1. So equal to what? Equal to ln absolute value of secant u plus c. Now, if it's still not clear, now I can write it in this way. So you can write it in this way. We have the integral, the derivative of cosine, we said what? Negative sine dx. So sine dx, I said, you got it, negative sine dx. What is negative? That is mean this will be minus what? Minus 1 over u. Cosine, it is u. And sine x dx is what? Negative du. So we minus du. And the integral of minus 1 over u du is negative ln u plus c. So we minus ln cosine u, it is cosine. Now, if we have, okay, now if we have tan squared now, if we have tan squared, what about the integral of tan squared? This is the integral of tan now, then secant. What about the tan squared? If I have tan squared, integral of tan squared x dx equal to, how to find the integral? The integral of tan squared, now I have only tan even power. I can it as, use the identity, we have tan squared theta plus 1 equal to what? Secant squared theta. Okay, so 1 plus tan squared equal to what? Secant squared. Now, tan squared, that is mean, equal what? Tan squared. Tan squared of theta is equal to secant squared theta minus 1. So this I can write it as secant squared theta minus 1. Okay, so now we have no theta, we write it as the same x, so write it x. Okay, so write it x dx equal to the integral of what? The integral of secant squared. Now dx minus the integral of dx. Integral of secant squared, the derivative of tan equal to what? Equal to secant squared x. So this will be here tan x minus what? Minus the integral of dx is x plus c. So this is the integral. Now we explain first the integral of tan is ln secant x, and the second one is the integral of tan squared. Write it as this is even power, and only tan, write it as I use the identity 1 plus tan squared equal to secant squared. So that means tan squared is equal to what? Secant squared minus 1. So the integral of secant squared is tan, and the integral of 1 dx is equal to x. Now, what about the integral of tan cube x dx? The integral of tan cube, now we know the derivative of tan is secant squared, so we have to write it as tan x times tan squared x dx. Why? Because squared tan squared equal to what? Equal to tan squared secant squared minus 1. So we write this one equal to, now equal to integral of tan x, tan squared is secant squared minus 1 dx. Okay, now we multiply and write the integral of each part. So with the integral of tan x secant squared x, the first one, minus tan x. And we can write the integral of each. Okay? So the integral of the first one, the integral of tan x secant squared x dx. This is the integral of this one. The first one equal to what? Is equal to tan this power 1. So to be tan squared x over what? Over 2. Because the derivative of tan secant squared. Like I have u du. So u squared over 2. Then the second one, tan x. Now what is the integral of tan x dx? The integral of tan, we see here. What the integral of tan? See, tan x is ln secant. Ln secant. So this one will be minus ln, I have this one, secant x plus c. Ln secant x plus c. Okay. Then, again, this one is absolute value here. Ln secant. Why? Because we said the integral of tan x dx, we write it again, sine x over cosine x dx. The derivative of cosine is minus sine, so we minus ln minus ln what? Cosine x plus c, and this negative one, what would be cosine to the power negative 1 is secant. So it would be ln secant x plus c. Then, what about if I have, see, integral, this one is here, a cube. What about the power 4? I have power 4. What do you have to do with power 4? Integral of tan power 4x dx. I have here power 4 equal to, how to write it? Now, one of the tan, this one tan squared, x dx, this tan squared, we can write it as what? I can write it as secant squared x minus 1. Again, the same idea. The same, this one. What we said 1 plus tan squared theta equal to what? Secant squared theta. Okay, so that's what the tan squared. So the tan squared again of theta is equal secant squared theta minus 1. So secant squared minus 1. And the second one, tan, we keep what tan squared here? X. Tan squared. Now, tan power 4, tan squared times tan squared. Tan squared, one of them, secant squared minus 1. And the second one, keep it as it is with no change. Why we keep this one? Now, if we multiply, see, if we multiply this one by this one, so the integral of tan squared x and what you have, secant squared x dx minus by 1, so the integral of what? Tan squared x dx equal to. Now, the derivative of tan, see, the derivative of tan is secant squared. The derivative of tan, secant squared. So u, and what I have, du. What the answer will be u to power n plus 1 over n plus 1. What does mean? Will be tan cube over 3. It will be tan cube over 3. So the integral will be tan q x over what? Over 3. Why? Because the derivative of tan secant squared minus. What about tan squared? So we write it, the integral of what? Secant squared minus 1. Secant squared x minus 1. Why? Because of the integral of the secant squared equal to the secant squared will be tan x. What is the integral of 1? X. We have negative, will be positive, will be plus x. Plus x, because I have here tan squared is secant squared minus 1. So tan squared by this one, and what you have tan squared by tan squared is secant squared minus 1 is what? Using this identity. And the integral of tan squared, secant squared is tan, and the integral of 1 equal to what? X plus c. And what about the first one? 1/3 tan qx. So this one is the integral. Then, what about if I have tan? Now, if I have tan, if I have, for example, I have tan, integral of tan x secant squared x dx equal what now? The integral is equal to. Now, secant squared, this one secant squared is the derivative of tan. So now, like I have u and I have du, because this is u, tan is u, and the derivative is secant squared dx. You know what I mean? I mean, I have u is equal to tan, and what is the du? The du is equal to secant squared x dx. So secant squared of du. So this one would be du, and this one is tan. So it is clear here, even no need to write your du, tan, the derivative of tan secant squared. So what's the answer? The answer is tan to power 1 plus 1 and plus 1 will be tan squared over 2 plus c. So it is the integral, and you have tan squared. Now, if I have, for example, if I have not tan power 1, that is the tan squared x dx. Okay, tan squared, a minute. I have tan squared, secant squared, let's have to say it. Tan squared, secant squared dx equal what? Now the derivative of tan secant squared, so what the answer will be? Tan, the derivative of u du, tan power n plus 1 will be 3 over 3 plus c. Anyone here? Why? Because the derivative of tan is what? Is secant squared x. So it will be tan to power n plus 1 over n plus 1. So this is the answer. Then in case, if I have integral, for example, that would say 3x secant squared x dx equal what? Now again the derivative of tan secant squared, so with the integral will be tan, the integral is tan to power 4 over 4 plus c. Now the question is, if I have, for example, integral of tan 5, and I have here 3x, and I have the secant squared 3x dx. What the integral? Now the derivative of tan, see, if u is equal to tan 3x, what is the derivative here? The derivative of tan is secant squared 3x times the derivative of the integral 3x is 3 times 3 dx. So what we need, we have secant squared dx, but we need the 3. So I have to multiply by 3 and divide by 3. And before the integral, divide by 3. And instead the integral, what I have to do? We have to multiply by 3. What do we have there? We have 3 secant squared 3x dx. Look at here. Is the 3 with the 3 is 1. Then still they are equal. Still they are equal. And what you have? Tan, okay? Tan to power 5, 3x. Now, what is the derivative of tan 3x? 3 secant squared we have. So the answer is equal to tan to power n plus 1 over n plus 1 plus c. And they have here, that is mean 1 over 18 tan 6 3x dx. Okay. Now, in case if I have, see, in case, for example, if I have integral of tan x and secant x, okay, tan x secant x. Really, tan x secant x is the derivative of secant. And we have here the derivative of secant tan secant. So this will be equal what? Equal to secant x plus c. Now this one is different. But if I have power 2, if I have c, look at this example here. Look at this example. If I have tan squared would be secant. But if the tan to the power 2, if I have, for example, see, if I have tan, I have here, let us say tan 5x and secant squared, that's a secant squared 5x. Now dx. Here, the derivative of tan 5 secant squared, that is mean I have to multiply by 5 in or out, divide by 5. And then multiply by 5. Which one I multiply? Secant squared. Now this one, 5 secant squared, is the derivative of what? The derivative of tan. Of tan what? Tan 5x. Now 5 secant squared is the derivative of tan. So what the answer is? 1 over 5. 1 over 5. And the derivative of tan 5 secant squared. So will be then here will be tan squared 5x over 2 plus c. That is me 1 over tan squared 5x plus c. Plus c. Okay. Maybe this one is the answer.